Good morning, and thank you all for coming to our September webinar focused around AI assistance. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we kick off. This webinar is live, but we will record the session and share it after the call, along with useful links to resources. We'll have a question and answer session at the end, and you can submit questions at any time via Slido. You can quickly scan the QR code throughout the webinar to join Slido, and you can upvote other questions. In addition, there will be a poll at the end where you can provide feedback on today's webinar. To begin, my name is James Findley, and I'm a customer success consultant here at Esri UK, and I'm joined by my colleagues.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam Stanley. I'm a GIS consultant here at Esri, and I'm looking forward today to be taking you through some ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS Arcade assistance.
Hiya, I'm Richard Perkis, a senior analyst within the tech support team, and I'll be previewing the AI assistance in Survey123 and Business Analyst.
Before we dive into AI assistance, let's take a step back and look at where we can find AI across the ArcGIS system. AI helps enable geospatial workflows through geospatial tools, such as GeoAI, via AI helpers or AI assistants, which we can direct us to complete tasks, and in the future via AI agents, AI models that can perform tasks autonomously and work towards specific results. Each implementation of AI supports two goals. One, for GIS professionals, AI can help by doing some of the heavy lifting to enhance your productivity. And two, for those who are newer to GIS, AI helps expand access to spatial analysis and information, making GIS more accessible. Let's take a closer look at each of these. AI has been a core part of ArcGIS for many years as part of our GeoAI tools, which some of you may recognize as machine learning or deep learning. They help us uncover patterns and trends from geospatial data, as well as detect, classify, and analyze objects at scale, whether it's through detecting land cover or buildings from imagery, extracting locations from unstructured intelligence reports, or predicting crop yields through advanced regression techniques. GeoAI helps supercharge our spatial analysis to deliver quicker and better insights. These capabilities are baked into many of the spatial analysis tools you already use across ArcGIS. In addition, ArcGIS also provides pre-trained deep learning models in the Living Atlas, plus the ability to train your own models that are relevant to your data and your use cases. AI assistants are newer to the system and are currently in both beta and public preview. AI assistants are found in products like Survey123 or capabilities like our Arcade editor, and we can direct them via natural language to generate surveys, lines of code, or to show us the right steps to complete an editing workflow. Think of them like ChatGPT, but specific to ArcGIS. You can have a conversation with an AI assistant, and at the end of the conversation, hopefully receive the results or answers you were looking for. We currently have AI assistants in beta, preview, and development that span everything from documentation and search to data management and mapping and app and survey creation. AI agents are currently in development in ArcGIS. We are researching how to best use and deploy AI agents to complete geospatial workflows. Whereas an AI assistant is reactive, it waits for our prompts, an AI agent is proactive. It'll work away autonomously to reach an end goal, sometimes chaining multiple workflows or systems together. Imagine an AI agent in banking. It could watch the market performance of stocks within a portfolio and then execute trades on behalf of the end client, all without intervention. Now, what could this look like in a geospatial context? Well, we don't have this yet, but we can envision an AI agent that watches a map of the overnight rainfall and compares this to the landscape, rivers, and roads in the local area. It could use this knowledge to quickly plot a set of potentially flooded locations and assign them to workers to inspect first thing in the morning. This is a hypothetical example, but research and development is currently underway, so we can ensure that we deliver AI agents that work for you and your workflows, but most importantly, that they're scalable and robust. And this is important to all AI in ArcGIS, that's designed in a secure, transparent, and trusted way. On our website, you can find our Trust Center, which outlines the core principles that govern how we integrate AI with our products. Importantly, Esri does not train AI models using customer data without explicit authorization, and you, as a customer, retain ownership of prompts and data you provide for AI analysis. In addition, generative AI features are opt-in, meaning that these features are not enabled in your ArcGIS organization by default. Administrators must opt in to enable these features in the system. And lastly, for AI assistants in public preview, you can access transparency cards, which provide in-depth details about our AI features, their structures, and the principles guiding their development and deployment. This gives you the chance to do your research, visit our Trust Center, and make an informed decision whether AI tools are right for you and your organization. If you have any questions about trust and security of AI in ArcGIS, please submit your questions on Slido, and we'll aim to answer them at the end of the call. Now, as I mentioned previously, each implementation of AI is at a different stage in its production journey. Whereas a GeoAI has been released into general availability and forms a core part of the system, AI assistants are in preview and beta, and AI agents are currently in research and development. To clarify what each of these stages mean, let's take a look at the development timeline. Each AI assistant goes through these 4 stages before they're released into general availability. At the private beta stage, the product is released to a handful of users for feedback and testing. Next, at the beta phase, the assistant is released to all ArcGIS users, with the caveat that features may not be fully complete or supported and may contain performance or quality issues. During this phase, you can test out the features, and we encourage you to provide feedback to the product teams via the early adopter community. What's new is the next phase, which is preview. Assistants in preview are fully supported, documented, and production ready, meaning that you can start building them into your workflows with confidence. Assistants remain in preview for a limited amount of time, during which there's no additional cost or licensing to use them. This provides a period of time for you to test out the assistants and figure out what works best for your organization. And in turn, it allows us to build a fair commercial model that represents broad usage patterns of these AI capabilities. And lastly, assistants will phase into general availability, meaning that they will be available just like any other product or capability across ArcGIS. So as you go through the demos in this webinar, you'll see that each AI assistant is marked with its position along the timeline, whether beta or preview, and we'll point you towards some resources to get started if you want to learn more. To kick things off, we'll dive into some of the ways you can start putting AI assistants to work across ArcGIS, beginning with ArcGIS Pro. Over to you, Adam.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen here. I'm really excited. This morning, I'm going to be taking you through ArcGIS Pro Assistant and ArcGIS Arcade Assistant. So I'm going to jump straight in. We're in ArcGIS Pro here, and this morning I'm going to be assuming the role of a person who is new to ArcGIS, hasn't used the software before, and so doesn't have too much of a knowledge of kind of the specific GIS terminology and things like that. Now, what I'm going to be doing this morning is I'm going to be working with some data that I've come across for cycling infrastructure, and I'm going to be trying to process this in ArcGIS Pro to create a route map between 2 parks here on the map in London. So this is Regent's Park and Hyde Park. So if I was a first-time GIS user, I might try and bring in these JSON files that it's provided me with, only to find that I can't do that. And this is where the ArcGIS Pro AI assistant is going to come in. Now, I've already installed this as this is in beta. It's a kind of added install for now, so I can cover that off later if anyone has any questions about that. But for now, we'll just jump straight in. So there's 3 elements to the Pro Assistant: graph query, query layer, and actions. Now, graph query and query layer are more aimed towards people using sort of database connections and only bringing in specific data that they need. And today I'm going to focus on actions. So the first thing that I'm going to ask the AI is this question. I have some JSON files I would like to display in ArcGIS Pro. Which tool can I use to achieve this? Now, as you can see, I've just used completely natural language. I haven't pointed it towards any sort of geoprocessing tool. And the idea is that the tool should be able to point me towards somewhere that I can go to accomplish this goal. So you can see here, it's pointed me towards the JSON to features tool. Now, with actions, I can actually go further and ask it to kind of open this tool for me and things like that. But for now, I've just, to save a little bit of time, I've already got this queued up in geoprocessing. And you can see I could just run that with one of my JSON files and it would output that on the map here. Again, to save time, I've already brought in all of my JSON. So you can see here, I've got various parking and routing and things like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it, I would like to find a route, the best route between 2 points on a map. What tool would be best to use? So all I'm looking to do here is kind of make a route from one part to the next. But again, I don't know exactly where in Pro I would go to do that. I know it's possible because I've seen other people do it. So I'm going to go to the tool and it's going to tell me I need the route solver, etc. And it gives me steps to do that. Now, I'm not going to go in a deep dive of how I would do a network analysis. I've already done that as well. But you would just kind of follow those steps that it gives you to do that. Now, it might be that sometimes it's not actually that clear as to kind of like what I need to do. And I might want to ask it other questions. So for example, I know from kind of maybe speaking to a colleague or something, I can have barriers within a network analysis. So that's areas that the route solver can't use. But I don't know if these can be kind of points or can I have lines like roads that I can't get down as well. So I'm going to ask it, can barriers be lines in route analysis? Again, I'm avoiding using kind of ultra specific terminology here, just to show that kind of like anyone can start using this Pro AI assistant. And it's about making it more accessible to people who maybe, you know, haven't worked with GIS before or are new users who would like to start. So you can see here in natural language at the top, it's told me in route analysis, when determining the best route, barriers can be lines. And then it gives me a little bit more information about that, as well as some resources at the bottom that I can click through. So perfect. The next thing I want to do is I want to see if there's any parking available on this route that I could put my bike on. So I'm going to ask it, I have a line layer, so that's this orange one here. I would like to select existing points around that line that fall within 100 meters of the line. How can I achieve this? And we'll just wait for that to process. And you can see here, it says the select by location tool. Now, it's important to note here that this is still in complete testing. So there's a little function here at the bottom that allows you to give this response a smiley face or sad face. Now, for this one, I'm really pleased with the output it's given me. As a GIS user, I know that select by location is an absolutely fine tool to use, but there's often 100 different ways of doing one thing in a GIS software. And if you find that it maybe gives you one that you're not expecting, whilst it might still be able to do it, you think that there's a more efficient tool, you might want to rate that badly. And that way it's kind of teaching that AI the best tools that people want to use for specific workflows. Now, the final thing I want to do is I want to actually put this into ArcGIS Online so that I can do some work with the Arcade assistant. So again, just to save a little bit of time, I've already done that select by location and it's got these parking areas here. And the last question I'm going to ask it is, how can I export this map to ArcGIS Online? And just while that's processing, I'm going to talk a little bit about Arcade next, which is a scripting language used within the ArcGIS system. And we can use it for sort of calculation and styling and things like that. We'll put some resources in the follow-up email around that. So you can see here, it's giving me exact steps as to which tabs to go on, how to share a web map and things like that. So I've already shared this web map before. And so here we are in ArcGIS Online, and specifically we're in Map Viewer here. And the first thing I'd like to do is these parking zones here, they're good and everything, but I would like to find a little bit more information about them. So within the data for this, they have some things such as capacity and if they're covered and things like that. So the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add a label class. So I'm going to come to the labels here on the right, add a label class, and I can access the Arcade Assistant through this expression button here and the Arcade Assistant. So the first thing I'm going to ask it is this. If capacity is above 10, say large, between 5 and 10, medium, and below 5, small. Now, anyone who's done a little bit of coding before will know that this is going to be a fairly simple if statement. And I've given it the field name only because it's a little bit cryptic. So I can't really expect it to guess that CPT means capacity. So I've just given it that. And I'm going to use this button to replace all the code. And you can see now when I press done, they label small, medium, and large, giving me an idea just at a quick glance as to how big or how many spaces there are to park bikes at those specific parking spaces. So I can also reuse this code to style them. So I'm going to come here to styles, new expression, and it's actually saved my previous prompt. So I'm going to add that again. And what I can now do is I can symbolize these by small, medium, and large, despite those not actually being attributes. So you can see as well, if I just click done here, within this, this layout, there's actually two fields that have photos in them. And I'm going to use this to illustrate another point when we use the Arcade Assistant within pop-ups. So you can see here we have the field list in the pop-up, but I'd quite like to make this a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to add content. I'm going to come down to Arcade, come down to the Assistant again. And the next thing I'm going to ask is this. Two of the fields contain a URL with a photo. Please display the photos in the pop-up. Now, you'll see here, I haven't given it the name of those fields. I'm going to let the Arcade Assistant have a go at working out what those fields are and how it would display that information. And it looks like it's done a pretty good job, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to add it to the editor. Just briefly, these buttons here, this one will add it to existing code you have. This one will replace everything in there, and this one will simply copy it so that you can use it somewhere else. So if we press done on that, come down, you can see here it's displayed those two photos, which is perfect. And the final thing I'm going to show is just how far we can push this Arcade Assistant. Now, the Arcade Assistant is in preview, so you will have access to this as long as you've got the setting enabled at administration level in your ArcGIS Online account. So I'm going to remove the field list for now. I'll leave that photo one and add new Arcade. Okay, so I'm going to set this off generating just while I talk through it. So effectively what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to return the borough that it's in. That's one field. That's not the exact field name. I'm again letting it try and work it out. Then I've told it after a line break, so that's a little bit of formatting. I would like to show the capacity for the stand. Because that one's a little bit cryptic, as I told you before, I'm going to give it the field name for that one. And then I've also told it some sort of formatting in terms of how I'd like it to show those values. And I've even put information such as bold, I'd like that bold black, bold red, etc. So I've put in some actual value formatting there. And then finally, I'm going to ask it to check if the cover is true. So that's the cover field I was talking about. That's not the exact field name. But again, it's just going to do a little if statement, and I've told it what I'd like it to do in each eventuality. And so you can see here, if I just pop this code in, it's done a pretty good job. It's pulled out all of the field names. It's put in all of that formatting. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to run that and check it works. So if we just click on any of the values here, you can see we've got our photos, and then perfect. We have our borough there at the bottom. We've got the capacity in the exact formatting it's given. And it's also using that if statement to tell me that the stand is not covered. So you can really start to see how using Arcade can save us time, but also we can have like quite complex formatting all within one prompt. And the assistant will work through that to really kind of like enable us to do some quite complex formatting in no time at all. So I'm now going to hand over to Richard, or hand back to James, sorry, to introduce the next part of the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. That was a great look at how we can use the Arcade Assistant to do some heavy lifting and quickly produce some really neat pop-ups and visualizations. Next, we're going to pass to Richard and look at two of the AI assistants that are currently in preview, which are Survey123 and Business Analyst.
I am here. Yes, good morning, everyone. As I mentioned, my name is Richard Perkis, and today I will start by previewing the Survey123 assistant. Survey123 is our form-centric application to create surveys, collect data, and share results. I'll be previewing where the Survey123 assistant can be used in the Survey123 web designer, and then also in the web app. The use case that I will be focusing on is building a survey for field workers to report on the condition of road signs. The key aim is to make the task of submitting the survey as easy as possible because it could be miserable weather. We don't want our surveyor filling out lots of questions, typing away with cold fingers. This is the Survey123 web designer, and after choosing to create a new survey, the Survey123 assistant is available for us in the bottom left. After clicking the button, a chat window opens, enabling us to draft a new survey by having a conversation with the assistant. Given our case study, my initial prompt will be, draft me a survey to record conditions of road signs. The assistant has been trained on a large language model, so let's see how it handles this fairly vague prompt. It does understand it, and after a moment, returns the structure of a survey that matches my request. I'm actually fairly impressed with this first draft. It includes an image question as well as sign condition questions, but I see it's missing questions about the surveyor. I therefore reply, and I ask it to include questions about the surveyor. The assistant understands the request. New draft. So after reviewing it, I will click Generate. What happens next is this text is converted into a survey form, which can be edited in the web designer. You can see how this assistant has the potential to save you lots of time if you are new to creating forms in Survey123. We are now well on our way to creating our survey. Remember, I wanted AI to help improve the experience for our surveyor in the field. Well, in addition to being used to create surveys, the Survey123 assistant can be used to generate answers to questions. I'll be making changes to a survey similar to this, but one I created earlier. I will start by showing how an uploaded image can be used to populate answers to other questions. I want to record what type of sign is being inspected. Each road sign has a specific code that it can be identified by. Rather than making the surveyor pick this code from a long drop-down list, which requires the surveyor to know what all the codes mean, we can use the AI to simply generate the code from the picture of a sign. Taking a closer look at this question, in its configuration, I've added a calculation. I choose to extract a property from the image and then choose Analyze Image. You will notice this is still in beta, but it's available in the production website for everyone to test with. My prompt is, please describe what type of sign this is in the UK. Use the official code defined under the TSRGD 2016. If not recognized, please return not recognized. Following the same process but a different prompt, I will also use the AI to extract the condition of the sign. I will now need to swap to the Survey123 beta website to continue configuring this survey. Note, features and functionality in the beta website are not yet finalized and are subject to change, but it gives you a good idea of what is to come in future releases. If it's bad weather, our surveyor will not want to type basic survey info such as their name, date, and location. So how can we make it easier for them? Well, as I scroll to the top, you will notice that my survey begins with an audio question, followed by a question to transcribe the audio into text. Taking a closer look at this transcript question, after selecting Transcribe Audio, you have the ability to enter words into the prompt that you want to ensure are spelled correctly in the output. That's why I've entered my name and the city of Edinburgh. We can now take things one stage further and extract pieces of information from the transcribed output. Take the surveyor name question, for example. Like before, I'll configure a calculation. I choose to extract a property from the transcript and then choose to analyze text. My prompt is simply extract name. I then repeat this process for other survey information questions. And with that done, this survey is now ready for data collection. So just to be clear, all our surveyor has to do is upload an audio snippet plus a photo. In theory, they could submit the survey from their car if it's really pelting it down. To demo this in action, here is me out in the field capturing the inputs, and luckily for me, the weather was particularly fine.
Hiya, it's Richard Perkins conducting a road sign condition survey here in Edinburgh, Thursday, the 18th of September 2025.
Now, let's see how the survey works now we've captured the inputs. You have the choice to capture an audio file live, but instead, I upload the one taken directly from that video. I haven't modified it in any way, and as you can see, it has transcribed the text perfectly, even accounting for the background noise. The survey type, name, date, and location fields have been automatically populated by the AI assistant, saving our surveyor time. Next, I'll upload the image of the road sign that I took. After uploading the image, we can see the AI spends some time analyzing it before populating the fields, but after a short moment, the road sign code has been correctly identified as code 606, and it has been reported there are small visual defects with the sign. That's everything we need. This sign, though, was in good condition. How would the AI cope with a sign in poor condition? Well, take a look at this sign. Let's see how the AI fares. I was in fact surprised the AI was still able to identify this sign and its respective code. This time it states the sign is in poor condition with visible defects, including graffiti. How easy was that to submit? We've got a happy surveyor who was able to undertake this task in no time at all. This short demo has shown you of what is possible to achieve with Survey123's AI assistant and how you can use it as a tool to improve how we both create and conduct surveys. I did not have the time to show other AI tools such as the translation assistant, which is now also out of beta and is in preview, and instead I must now move on to Business Analyst. The ArcGIS Business Analyst Assistant is now available for use in preview, so I'll quickly introduce the product before diving into some demos. ArcGIS Business Analyst is our browser-based app that allows you to see opportunities clearly using the global demographic and business dataset that is included in addition to location-based intelligence. Maps, charts, and metrics can be created, then presented using customizable infographics. These can then be shared to wider audiences and stakeholders. The assistant can be used in any of those capacities, be that with mapping, analysis, and creating infographics. Let me show you how. I will start with a very simple task, which is to create a color-coded map. I have navigated to the Maps window, but I'm presented with a blank canvas, and I'm not sure how to get started. In the white ribbon, I've ensured my data source is for the United Kingdom. I then open the AI assistant by clicking the button next to data source. As you may be accustomed to now, this opens a chat window where I can enter a prompt, which is create a map of unemployment in Edinburgh. It understands the prompt, and in no time at all, it has created a card with this map request. This will allow me to get started. So I click Create Map to bring it into the map window. Following that, I will not be able to make changes to the map with the AI, but notice it has provided extra advice for getting more out of your map. Clicking an option from the drop-down list highlights where in the configuration panel you can make specific changes, such as filtering. And here, the assistant has a link to pre-produced training videos. Let's do some analysis now. I'll start by clearing the map and restarting the assistant. I then give it the prompt, find the location of this Edinburgh address and create drive time bands. That's the Edinburgh office where I'm speaking to you from right now. I'm able to specify time analysis settings within the assistant, and then I can create a site and bring it into the map. What would be nice now is to have some other places of interest. I want to know what hospitals are within my drive time band, so I ask the assistant, add in places of interest. I then specify hospitals in my reply. I can bring this layer directly into the map too. If I want, I could take this further and apply additional filters using the configuration panel on the left, but again, you can see how easy it was to get started with analysis thanks to this assistant. Lastly, before I run out of time, I wanted to show you how the assistant can help you get started with creating infographics. I'll clear the map again and restart the assistant. Again, I'll use Edinburgh as my case study, and the prompt will be create a report for spending statistics in Edinburgh. Spending statistics is a dataset I know exists, and like before, a card has been created within the assistant panel. I click Run, and the generated infographic opens with various charts and metrics. If I want to learn how to make changes, I click the Tips drop-down again, and this will direct me, such as this button where I now know how to make edits. Infographics created by the assistant will look different each time they're created, but they'll serve as a great place to start, especially if you're new to creating infographics. And that is all the time I have to show you today. In the webinar resources, the documentation for both Survey123 and Business Analysts will be included, so I recommend you take a read of that if you want to know more. I'll now pass back to James.
Thanks, Richard. I love the transcribe audio feature in Survey123, partly for me because I'm really bad at typing on my phone as is, even when it's not cold and rainy outside. But what's great is that many of the features you just saw, especially in Business Analyst, are in public preview, meaning that they're supported and you can start building them into your workflows with confidence. And to recap, let's take a look at where each of the AI assistants are in terms of their current status, as well as a look ahead to what's coming. In addition to the assistants that you've seen today, we also have beta assistants for translation, ArcGIS Hub, story maps, and ArcGIS for Microsoft Teams. And in the near future, you can look for assistants in notebooks, the Data Explorer Instant app, and more, with some of the current beta assistants moving into preview and eventually general release. Of course, this current schedule is subject to change, but it represents an exciting few releases with AI assistants moving into more and more parts of the system. Lastly, to access AI assistants, there are a few steps you need to take. Importantly, AI assistants are not enabled in ArcGIS by default. So administrator must enable these for your ArcGIS organization before you can use them. The steps then differ a little bit for each of the products. So if there's a specific assistant you want to take a look at, please feel free to scan one of these QR codes now. I'll give you just a moment to do so. Similarly, don't feel compelled to commit this information to memory, as we'll send around useful links alongside the recording. And that wraps up our webinar on AI assistants. We would appreciate if you could leave some feedback on our webinar via Slido, which will help us prepare for the next. The next webinar will be this time next month. We'll be looking at thinking spatially, an introduction to spatial analysis in ArcGIS. And now we'll head over to our Q&A. Remember that you can join Slido via the QR code on the screen, where you can either submit your own questions or upvote questions you would like to see answered. If I could have all of the presenters join back in, that would be great. And I'd also like to welcome Dom Stubbins, our Chief Solution Architect at Esri UK, to help field some of these questions.
James. Okay, we've got quite a list of questions coming up on Slido. Shall I take the top one?
Yeah,
so the top question is about how much control do you have as an organizational admin about the way that AI assistants answer questions and work with tools. And as I think you've seen on the webinar today, there's quite a number of different AI assistants in different parts of ArcGIS, and they're all, many of them are still in beta or preview, so we're still working through some of that functionality. I think for the ones that we've seen today, there's not advanced control on controlling the answers, but some of the upcoming AI assistants, for particularly those that are public facing, so things like the assistant that's coming to ArcGIS Hub, you'll have more control over the types of answer that AI might give to your end users or users of your applications. As always, one of the reasons we're putting these out in preview is so that we can get your feedback on features and capabilities that you would like to see come to these AI assistants in the future. The question was specifically around, can the AI not suggest tools that have a credit cost? Now, you can ask that as part of your question if you're using the AI tools, and you can also control the credit costs in the normal way within ArcGIS using the credit control tools and settings that you have as an administrator.
Brilliant. Adam, it looks like the next question is about your licensing level and whether or not ArcGIS Pro can recognize that when you're using the assistant.
Yeah, so Pro will the Pro Assistant will recommend tools that potentially have a higher licensing level than you do. So for instance, if I ask it for a tool within a toolbox I don't have access to, it will still provide me steps as to how I would go about doing it. But we'll usually say something like, if you have a spatial analyst license, or you could explicitly ask it, do I need a spatial analyst license for this? I think as it goes along, it will get kind of better at that. But currently, yeah, it kind of relies on you kind of reading it, and if it needs a tool, you asking it, can you provide a different tool?
Brilliant. Dom, this next question is looking at whether there's any risk that data used as part of the AI assistance will be leaked to third parties.
And that's a really great question, and one that we hear from a lot of people. And I really would recommend that you go to the AI Trust site and look at the AI transparency cards. These describe exactly where and how data is used for each of the assistant models that are currently the ones that are in preview. You'll find transparency cards, and we're working through creating these transparency cards for all of our assistant models. But the high level kind of overview of how your data is used, we don't share your data with other organizations. So we don't, some of the models will call out to third parties, but the way that we've built the AI assistants and the way that we use those models, they are enterprise grade systems that don't share, and they don't use your data for training. So we're very clear on how the data that you put into the system when you ask a question is used in the different AI assistants. And I'll just point you again at the Trust site, because that is where you'll find all the information about each of the models and how they work, what models they use, and how the data that you use is treated in those models. But we have some principles, which is that we don't use your data for training, and we don't share your data with third parties or other users when you use them in these AI models.
Brilliant. And this next question is about the AI assistant and potentially some of the error messages we receive when we do workflows in ArcGIS Pro or online. So can we use the AI assistant to troubleshoot errors when we're trying to complete a task?
Yeah, so what I saw that question come in, and I just tested it on the Pro Assistant. If you give it error codes, it can help you to work through those, suggesting some kind of common steps. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything more to say on that, Dom.
No, I think I was just going to mention also the support kind of AI chat that you can use as well on when kind of troubleshooting issues with ArcGIS.
The next one for you, Dom. Is it possible to allow AI access to certain groups? So let's say we set a group with permissions, or is it blanket for all users in the organization?
So right now, the setting for ArcGIS Online is a blanket. You turn it on for the organization. As we build more capabilities into ArcGIS, we'll be bringing some more services, capabilities, and applications that include AI assistance into ArcGIS, and those you'll be able to share in the same way that you can now with existing apps and maps and data within ArcGIS. But the capability itself is an organizational-wide capability.
Fantastic. So Adam, does generating Arcade or let's say Survey123 forms cost any credits?
Currently, no. It's kind of, you know, if you use the Arcade assistant, it's the same as if you were to type the Arcade yourself. Kind of, yeah. So as far as I've found, in none of the assistants do they consume credits.
And just while we're on that at this point in time, while these tools are in beta and public preview, they don't require any additional licensing. They don't incur any credit costs, and it gives you a period of time to figure out how they work best for you and your organization. Now, these generative AI tools, the way that you work with ChatGPT or any other similar generative AI system, they do require servers and processing power. So we can't say that that will exist credit-free forever, but this is a perfect point in time for you to test out those workflows in a secure way. So Adam or Dom, do you know if your assistants suffer from hallucinations, and do they know when they're doing it?
So like any large language model, there might be occasions when the answer you get back isn't necessarily the perfect answer. And that, again, is one of the reasons why we're putting these models through a much longer beta and preview process than we do normally with features that we release in ArcGIS. So, we do a lot of testing and a lot of release testing, but I don't think we can guarantee. And I think if you go to the Trust website, we have a kind of a statement about that. And I think we always recommend that you look at the output of what you get before just incorporating the code, or if it's in the case of Arcade, for example, it's a collaborative process. It's there to assist you. It won't necessarily get absolutely the right answer every single time.
And Adam, we saw some cool workflows there in ArcGIS Pro. If I wanted to add in that AI assistant, how would I go about doing so?
Yeah, so the early adopter community, there's a download that you need to add to your existing install of Pro. So you can do it to an existing install. It's worth noting, there's a small part that I know tripped me up. When you first install Pro, it would have given you the option as to whether you wanted to add in certain packages that would facilitate for you installing an AI assistant in the future. I personally had said no to those, so I then had to go back and add those to my install of Pro. You can do that using the installer that you first used when you used Pro, which you can get from MyEsri. Or sometimes if you've put your Pro download in a bit of a weird place, as I sometimes do, I'll kind of keep files in places where it maybe doesn't expect Pro to be. It might be that it's easier to do a clean install of Pro just to make sure that everything is where the assistant needs it to be.
Brilliant. And a question about either using the AI assistant in beta or ChatGPT to figure out the same workflow, for example, in ArcGIS Pro. Do they return the same or quite different queries? Answers.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a key difference in the way that those models are trained. The Esri ones aren't trained on customer data. ChatGPT is trained on kind of most of the internet. So ChatGPT will do a decent job of sometimes recommending ArcGIS workflows, but the AI assistant is trained solely on ArcGIS, so it will do a very good job. If the question's asking kind of, are they going to always say the same thing? Probably not. That's just the nature of large language models. But I would say that the AI assistant should recommend you the best one for that workflow in ArcGIS.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Adam has said, some of the assistants are they're not trained on your data, but they're able to see the data that's in your map or the data that's in your application. So they obviously have, at the time you ask the question, the ability to give you answers that relate very specifically to the data that you have inside the application, as opposed to a more generic answer about how to write Arcade, for example.
We have time to answer just a couple more questions. So if you see any that are relevant, please make sure to upvote them now. And we do see a question here that's about the AI tool explains you how to do tasks currently. Is the end game that it will perform the task you ask it to do? And this is where we start to move from AI assistants into agentic AI. And part of that means that you need to be a bit more cautious about how everything's working. And for us, we're still in the research and development phase of agentic AI and how we implement it across ArcGIS, because we want to make sure that it works in a robust and scalable way, and it's doing everything that you want it to do appropriately. So that could be the end goal in the medium future, but at this point in time, we still have those checks in place where we still have that human control at the end of the process. And one for you, Richard, will the AI assistant be available for Survey123 Connect?
Yeah, I actually was with the product manager for Survey123 only a few weeks ago, and I asked her this question, so it's pretty timely. She essentially said that a lot of work is being done currently on Connect, so it will a lot of development. It's being tested, so not currently right now. That again goes for when you use the AI, it will only be available in the web form at the moment. It's still currently not available on the iOS and Android field apps. Again, a lot of work and research is being done with those. And the product manager explicitly said, if any of you as customers have exciting workflows that require the use of AI in field apps or using Connect, then please raise this with your account manager so we can feed this back to the product team and can make sure that we have the workflows that are available for you in the next release.
Brilliant. And then the last question for today, how about ArcGIS Enterprise? We've shown lots of capabilities across ArcGIS Online, but what does the future look like for those who use an ArcGIS Enterprise deployment?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of touch on that. We absolutely have plans to bring the AI capability and the AI assistance to our customers using Enterprise as well as online. It's a lot easier to get feedback and testing to start with ArcGIS Online, but we certainly have plans in the future to bring some of the different assistant capabilities to be able to be used with ArcGIS Enterprise. We're also thinking about those of you who run ArcGIS in disconnected environments as well, and how we're able to deliver these AI assistant capabilities to those organizations as well.
Brilliant. Well, that is all we had time for today, but thank you all so much for joining us on this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you next month when we look at spatial analysis. Thank you.